Welcome back, everyone. My name is Ember, and we are continuing our One Piece journey once again with Volume 10. Can't believe we're already 10 volumes into this. It's been a hell of a trip so far. So, today's volume covers chapters 82 to 90. So this is right when the fight with Arlong between Luffy's crew and Arlong's crew starts, and it goes all the way up until, let's see, that moment when Luffy uses swords for a bit and Arlong starts pulling out his teeth and stuff. So, close to the end of the Arlong fight. So, once again, another fucking fantastic volume. Just, it's back to the long stretch of just constant fight scenes over and over and over again, and it's super exhilarating. Leading in with one of the coolest gags slash dynamics that I've seen from One Piece so far. So, well, of course, first, Luffy just walks up and fucking clocks Arlong in the face, which was fucking great. And again, just these are some fucking amazing panels. I don't know if I'm ever going to get tired of how awesome these spreads look. They're just so dynamic and just impacting, and they're so fucking great. But anyway, what I was talking about was the sea cow shows up again, and in the last volume, Luffy and crew just completely pushed its shit in, made a mockery of it, and so Sea Cow shows back up at Arlong's place, and Arlong's like, Sea Cow, attack him. Go do your thing. And Sea Cow's like, no. But then Arlong's like, fucking do it. And the Sea Cow just immediately goes back into attack mode. So, really interesting. Like, it's a cool little bit of just, like, we've already seen Luffy kick the shit out of the Sea Cow, but it's so scared of Arlong that immediately it just jumps right back into attacking the main crew, even though he knows he can't win. So that's even more interesting, like, foreshadowing of how strong Arlong is. But of course, doesn't go well for this poor little Sea Cow, and we get yet another fucking fantastic action spread of Luffy swinging a Sea Cow around in the air and then just fucking tossing it. Just woof, just off into the distance. Just amazing. Feel bad for the Sea Cow, though. So, that's when the fight proper starts. Luffy and Ko start attacking Arlong, but Arlong's like main three subordinates jump in and start taking him on. Then I'm gonna be jumping around a little bit for this particular segment because there's one point that I really just want to hit right away. So Luffy gets his feet stuck in the fucking ground, and so Arlong, knowing that Luffy is eating the devil fruit, just picks up the ground that he's stuck to and just throws him in the ocean. So, and tries to drown him. Now, this is a continuation of something I've noticed a lot with how Oda writes his action scenes, is he very rarely has everyone in play at the same time. So far, I don't think there has been a single point where three of the characters, there hasn't been a single point where the entire crew has been fighting at the same time. And so it's, in this particular instance, Nami is off healing from her emotional devastation, and Luffy is at the bottom of the fucking bay. And so that just leaves Usopp, Zoro, and Sanji. So I get that, it's an easier way to manage fight scenes. So I understand why Oda's doing it, just to keep like you can't have all of your major players in play at once unless it's a really complicated and extremely tough opponent. But jumping ahead to the last chapter in this volume, it has a bit of a thematic base to it as well. Like, there's a point where, like, Luffy is fighting Arlong, and he just grabs a couple swords and starts swinging at him with Arlong. And eventually he just gets tired of it, throws the swords, and punches him in the fucking face. And he goes, I can't use swords, I don't know how to navigate, I can't cook, and I can't tell lies. But I can beat you. And he says, I can't live without the help from other people. So the way Oda constructs fight scenes also has like a thematic undercurrent to it as well. It's really clever. It's just Luffy knows that he is not all powerful, even though he is clearly the strongest, probably the strongest person in this cruise so far, probably the strongest character in the series up to this point. He knows that he is not a god. He knows that he is not yet the greatest pirate in the world. And he knows what his limitations are. He can't swim. He doesn't think through things very well. He has his own weaknesses, and so he relies on his friends to help compensate for his weaknesses. And in turn, he helps compensate for his friends' weaknesses. So just really great, really just fantastic character writing for Luffy here. Just love it. I started tearing up during that scene. It's just so good. Fucking Arlong Park is just absolute banger, 10 out of 10 arc so far. It's just phenomenal. Just it perfectly constructed through and through. So love that. Jumping back a bit. There's a whole lot of moving parts to this conflict. Like in some other shonen series that I've read, not going to name names, but in other shonen series I've read, there are a lot of points where where opposing characters will pair off and just have like their own isolated battle somewhere. And like there's nothing wrong with that, but it is like the more standard way to do things. Like they'll have their own isolated battle that doesn't really have anything, that doesn't have any grander interaction with the conflict at large. But what Oda has done so far is that he constantly has these isolated battles intersect with each other. Characters are flopping between enemies, and sometimes they're ganging up on one enemy, sometimes enemies are ganging up on them. And it makes the battles way more interesting, way more complex, and way more fast-paced and just fluid and just more dynamic. And it makes you think a lot more. Like there's not a lot of interesting like power strategies in One Piece so far. It's mostly just Luffy punches people, Zoro slashes people, and Sanji kicks people. That's about it as far as combat strategy goes, but it's the way that the fights just coalesce and like overlap each other that makes for a much more complex fights combat dynamic. So you don't need a bunch of like super flashy move sets, like a bunch of like you don't need JoJo style power systems to make complex fight scenes, and Oda is proving that with these fight scenes. Speaking of those fight scenes, they're just generally really solid all around. Zoro faces off with the octopus boy, Hachi, whatever, and just is a complete badass the whole time. And let's see, where is that one panel? Just gets... just absolutely tears him a new one. Even though he's still recovering from his wounds that Mihawk gave him. I've been told that it is pronounced Mihawk. So I'm going to pronounce it Mihawk. So, yeah, he's still recovering from those wounds, and he can still fillet an octopus pretty well. Sanji goes up against the manta ray dude, has that clever little moment of breathing air into his gills underwater. That was kind of fun. And Usopp faces off against the kisser fish. I guess that's what he was. Usopp's battle was definitely the most thematically interesting, and most interesting character-wise, because like he ends up he gets chased out into the middle of the woods, ends up playing dead, and so the kisserfish gets up to leave and go back to the main fight, and Usopp's just sitting there I can go back and tell them I won. And then he keeps thinking back to all those absolute badass moments that Luffy and Nami and Zoro and Sanji have had, where they've just put their life on the line completely. And, he looks back at his own fight, where he basically just played dead and abandoned it, leaving the kisserfish for his crew to deal with. And he goes, no, I can't do this. I can't be this much of a coward any longer. I have to actually face him. And so that was a really cool moment for Usopp, just overcoming his cowardly nature, putting his own life on the line in a real life or death situation, and sticking it to the fishman. He did the old alcohol plus fire trick, and then just started beating the shit out of him with a hammer, which is fucking hilarious. Shoots him in the eye with a rubber band, and then just beats him with a hammer. It's fucking incredible. I was laughing throughout the entire end of that fight scene. So, bravo, Usopp. You did good. And then even the rest of the village started joining in to help with stuff. You had Nojiko and Genzo helping Luffy, trying to pull Luffy up from the bottom of the ocean, and pulling his rubbery ass head all the way up to the surface just so he could breathe. Good stuff. It's, again, so many moving parts to this to this long sequence of action, ultimately culminating with the big punch up between Luffy and Arlong, where Zoro. But briefly before that, even after the badass display we got from Zoro against the Hachi, the octopus guy, as soon as he's done with that, Arlong just a few flicks of his wrist and Zoro is down. It's jobbing at its finest. And then Luffy shows up and has his big punch up with Arlong, and it's just this total knockdown, drag out fight, brute force kind of fight. Luffy and Arlong beating the shit out of each other, and it's still not quite done yet. We're seeing Arlong pull out some special attacks, just literally ripping teeth out of his mouth because he's a shark man, and attacking Luffy with them. So, really excited to see how this battle concludes. I think that's about it. Nami had some cool moments in here as well. Her "Please Die With Me" little moment with the villagers, or fight and die with me, where she's like, I'm sorry I have to be a burden on everyone, but we have to do this, and they're all for it. Fortunately, Luffy shows up and saves them, but I'm really I'm really having a good time. This is one of the best, easily one of the best opening manga experiences I've had so far. Like, this story feels fucking massive. And it's like we're still pretty much in the introduction. It still feels like an introduction. Pretty much until we get out of East Blue, this is just the intro to One Piece, and it's just massive and epic and fun and interesting all the way through, and I love it. So, really excited to finish up Arlong Park and then jump into Rogue Town. So, that will be for tomorrow. And that's all for... Yep. Join me again tomorrow. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Be sure to leave a comment about what you thought and all that jazz. My name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.